This is a review of Angry Birds the movie. There is another chance to win a $20 gift card to Amazon at the end of this video, so make sure you stay tuned all the way till the end. Or you could just skip the end, I guess it would work either way. So starting with the Hound, the Gravedigger theory is basically confirmed at this point, and I was really happy to see the Hound back. I think the character is fantastic, and the actor who plays him is fantastic as well. I'm just a little bit disappointed that McShane kind of spoiled it for people, and it's not that he just spoiled it, but he kind of then just gave the middle finger and was like, yeah, I spoiled it. Go fuck yourself. So I did like the Hound being back. I just wish it would have been a little bit more of a surprise like it could have been if he hadn't run his mouth off in the interview. But despite that, the actor that played Septon Ray is an amazing actor. If you've seen other things he's in, you know how amazing he is. So even just having him on the show, I was kind of like, yeah, okay, you did a dick thing, but you're amazing. He did an incredible job at Septon Ray, which was a combination of Septon Maribald and the elder brother from the books. There was also such fantastic dialogue between him and the Hound. I really enjoyed the line, "If the gods are real, why haven't they punished me?" And Ray's response, "They have." The Hound has been through so many terrible events. And even though the Hound is back from his near-death experience, and he isn't exactly the same, he is still fueled by his anger. That anger includes being super pissed about Brienne getting the upper hand on him. The Hound says hate and being a big fucker is the reason why he's still alive, but Septon Ray tends to disagree, believing that the gods still have a plan for him. Which is basically him saying, Clegane Bowl, get fucking hype. I'm sorry for that. I have a terminal case of the hypes, and I don't know how long I have left to live. Septon Ray also gave a lot of fantastic speeches to his followers. There was no broken men speech, but it would likely have been too long for the show. My favorite was him telling them that they have to learn to answer their prayers themselves, which another similar quote to that I absolutely loved was from Lord Commander Jeor Mormont. He said, "The wide world is full of people wanting help, Jon. Would that some could find the courage to help themselves." And what a contrast Ray is to the High Sparrow. Ray claims he doesn't know the gods, and that many claim they do. Drown God, Red God, any one of them, or all of them could be right. Then you have the Sparrows who are fanatical and believe their way is the true way. Ray believes violence is a disease, and he refuses to fight. The High Sparrow is ready for all his sparrows to die and uses violence to fix things. The High Sparrow uses harsh punishments to get people to atone. Ray preaches people living in harmony and forgiving yourself and moving on with your life is best. So a huge difference between two men that follow the same religion, and both sides have their merits and their downsides. But then the Brotherhood without banners show up and we get Lem, which I was excited for, but also we get a Brotherhood that is a bit more evil, which I guess would make sense if a certain someone is now leading them, but it would also make sense if Beric has died and been rezzed a few more times since we last saw the Brotherhood, and now, as he said before, he's lost more and more of himself and he's become a bit more cold and cruel. So I could see this going both ways. We could end up being shown a certain lady, or it could turn out that Beric just has lost himself after dying so many times. So then the Brotherhood without banners, allegedly, comes and slaughters Septon Ray's followers, forcing the Hound to pick up his axe once more and become a killer. Something something King's Landing, something something Clegane Bowl, get hype. King's Landing, Marjorie is playing the game hard and even memorizing passages from the faith to convince the High Sparrow she's on board. And her change of apparel says it all. We're used to Marjorie wearing clothes that are a bit more revealing. You see a little bit more skin. But under the faith, women are not allowed to show their cleavage. Those dirty little whores with their nipples that almost every human being are born with, and those sacks of fat attached to their chest. Shame! I'm Team High Sparrow, you dirty whores with your fucking sacks of fat. Put them away. We don't want to see that shit. Even the gown is shapeless and shows how pious she's becoming. Another queen of the Seven Kingdoms, Nerys, was also incredibly religious and also wore a very conservative shapeless dress, so this is par for the course. The grandmother threats show just how far the High Sparrow is willing to go to maintain power in King's Landing and make sure the faith stays firmly entrenched there, and is yet another huge contrast to Septon Ray. Now, why is Marjorie not sleeping with Tommen? I don't buy for an instant it's because the desires that once ruled her are now gone. There could be several reasons for her not sleeping with Tommen. On the very basic level, maybe being in a dungeon and your husband not doing everything in his power to save you is a bit of a turnoff. Not sleeping with him can also be a bit of payback. Wouldn't be the first time a wife has withheld sex as a form of punishment. She could also be testing how much Tommen shares with the Sparrow. Their sex life would be something incredibly private. The High Sparrow bringing up their sex life and Tommen sharing their sex life with him shows how much Tommen shares and helps Marjorie play the game better. She could also not be sleeping with him because she doesn't want to become pregnant. If she feels that Tommen isn't going to last on the throne or wants to make a play for another husband, not having a child by him could be a good idea. She also might fear once she pops out a male heir, there's less use of her and she becomes expendable or has less power. Finally, she could have also used this as another way to manipulate the faith. Oh, I'm so faithful now that the dirty desires aren't part of me. So she starts having sex with Tommen again because the High Sparrow tells her to. And she just got some brownie points. Hey, I'm super faithful, but I guess I'll do this because you want me to. There's also a few more reasons she could be doing it as well, but I can only wear so much tinfoil in a day. And whatever her reason for not sleeping with Tommen, we did get confirmation Marjorie isn't brainwashed by the picture she slipped to her grandmother. A flower showing that she's growing strong and has not forgotten her family or what is best for them. We also see Marjorie's face crumble just a bit as her grandmother leaves, revealing what is really going on. Though if she's really playing the game, hopefully she makes a move before her brother renounces his title and being the heir to High Garden. But of course, Mace could also start plugging away at the ladies again. I'm sure he has at least 100 bastards in the Reach alone, so House Tyrell is probably fine. And then, holy hell, the conversation between Olenna and Cersei. Loras rots in a cell because of you. The High Sparrow rules this city because of you. Our two ancient houses face collapse because of you and your stupidity. The Queen of Thorns is just laying the smack down. And while Cersei may feel a tiny bit bad for what she did, her admitting her fault was more of a, yeah, I'm a total dick. Oh well, deal with it. Now what are you going to do for me to resolve this problem? I do think Olenna's next line really did get to her though. I wonder if you're the worst person I've ever met. At a certain age, it's hard to recall, but the truly vile do stand out through the years. I watched you smirk when they took away my grandkids. I think Cersei can imagine how she would feel if the same thing happened to her, and what she'd do to the person smirking as her loved ones were taken away. And you'd think that all of this is a bit of an eye-opener when she realizes that she's so cruel and awful to people that there are only 3 types of people left. Those that hate her, those that stick by her because they can or might get some type of power, or those forced to stay by her out of duty for family. Though in the books, her family is even tired of her shit. And I loved her question to Cersei. You're surrounded by enemies. Thousands of them. What are you gonna do? Kill them all yourself? And the look on Cersei's face was basically saying, yeah, probably. Fucking wildfire confirmed, Cersei chooses violence.
I choose violence.
And honestly, I hope in my heart of hearts that Cersei just starts going more and more batshit crazy, and just at one point Tommen he can't handle it. He's realized just everything's so fucked up. His mother is a total psycho. His wife doesn't want to sleep with him, or he figures out is sleeping with him just out of duty, and he's just like, fuck this shit, I'm out. And he ends up killing himself, or Cersei in her madness ends up killing him, and then she just spirals into this just pit of madness that she can't get out from. And this made me sound like a really bad person. I usually don't advocate the death of children, despite what you may have seen in my season review so far. Meanwhile, Jon's recruitment plan isn't going as well as he'd hoped, though Jon is much better at talking with wildlings than the houses below the wall. And even then, Tormund had to help a little to get the wildlings on his side. But watch Jon's face every time someone mentions him dying for something. There's always a little haunted look in his eyes, sometimes a tiny flinch. That they're still showing him dealing with his death and resurrection is a big deal to me. He should be scarred from this for a very long time, if not the rest of his life. And really, I like the contrast of how Sansa was talking so much shit in previous episodes, saying, you know, the North remembers, they're gonna rally behind the Stark name, and then she's realizing that the North, maybe they don't remember as much as she thought. The North forgot, or at least they got your texts, but they're pretending like they didn't. I don't think Sansa imagined that the Northerners were going to not instantly flock to her side, or that they were even going to question whether she was still a Stark. She's been married to a Lannister and now a Bolton. So I think that being thrown in her face is even more hurtful to her, because she had to endure these things. She had to marry those people. She didn't really have a choice. She had a little bit more of a choice of marrying Ramsay Bolton, but to then have that thrown in her face is just twisting the knife in that wound. So the first place they stop at was Bear Island, and it was so beautiful. The way their castle is described in the books compared to what we saw. Jorah's ex-wife is such a whiner. Though she was a high-maintenance girl, and high-maintenance women are generally not happy with their fucking fairy tale-like castle. Jorah, you can marry me. I snore when I drink too much, and I may have a bit of a temper, but we can make this work. We can make this work. Inside House Mormont's seat, we see the chandelier that was promised. So this was from the scene involving Sansa and Davos as suspected when the trailers came out. And I'd like to think the show does this on purpose, leaves little clues in the trailer for us to piece together. Or it was a coincidence, but I'm going to pretend like they did it on purpose. Lyanna Mormont was the VIP of the episode. Beautiful job. Davos knowing how to talk to little girls and get them on his side made me so much more sad about Shireen's death. But despite getting the Mormonts to back them, they only get 62 men. But keep this in mind, these 62 people fuck bears. Or they're the bears that people fuck. Either way, these people are fierce. It's interesting that Meg Mormont is dead in the show because she's not in the books. I don't think this is a, oh, she's not really dead thing. I think it's a, she's a dead thing. Also, I want to see people a little more freaked out about the others. In the Reach, yeah, they can laugh it off. But the Northerners, I just expected more of a reaction. Oh shit, you mean the letter Aemon sent us was for realsies? The people in that room took the news like champs. Even if I grew up in the North with stories like that and got a letter, I'd still be a little freaked out. Also, why are none of the Northern houses questioning why the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch is recruiting people for a war against the Boltons? The North is very aware that Jon was a Lord Commander. They're also very aware what he's doing is a big no-no. Did Jon also explain the stabbing to them? And just like with the others, they were like, hey, cool, now get the hell off my porch. Also, Jon didn't return House Mormont's ancestral sword because, fuck you bitches, the old man left it to me. I'm a little disappointed in House Glover, but they had a reason to join Stannis after he helped them get back their house. With the Starks, especially in the show, with good guy Boltons helping them out, why do they want to risk their lives again? And Sansa didn't help by running her mouth off either. And I'd like to point out that every single episode this season, there has been some type of reference or pointing out or even outright saying how Robb fucked up. Which is interesting because we know the showrunners also put in some type of reference or something relating to Ned Stark's senseless execution. So I don't know if this is on purpose, that they just keep bringing up or referencing how Robb screwed up in every single episode. But it could also make sense because we're dealing with a lot of the Northern plot right now. So after the disappointing interaction with the House Glover, they're now camped at the place Stannis camped at when Shireen was burned. So this is going to go well. Davos is going to find where Shireen was burned, and he's not going to be happy. I wonder exactly where Melisandre is, as she said she was going to follow Jon from now on, and what will happen when Davos finds out. I can't imagine those two being buddy-buddy after this, but Davos has made some strange decisions of late. He's also basically everyone's dad, getting people together and breaking up fights. And is it me, or is Sansa being a little bit ridiculous? It's even to the point where Jon is just like, shut the fuck up. Like, Sansa, you gotta stop doing this. She's being a little bit too bossy and aggressive, and she's even questioning Davos. It's like, you know, Sansa, it would be really nice if you could stop questioning people, seeding doubt, and just in general, being a pain in everyone's ass. And she definitely sent that letter to Peter Baelish asking for his help behind Jon's back. And in the letter that can be made out, she mentions someone being in charge of the Knights of the Vale, likely Peter, more doubtful Robin, and suggesting they ride to Winterfell and that Sansa will see to it that the person is rewarded. This reward will likely bite Sansa in the ass, but that's par for the course for Twisty Mustache Man. Jaime and Bronn, this was a much better team up than the other location they were in, which I think was somewhere in Essos. Also, there was way better dialogue between the two of them, including when Jaime says that Bronn has better instincts than the entire Lannister army, and Bronn tells him that's like saying he has the biggest dick in an unsullied army. But the second best dialogue is Bronn talking about all the things Jaime promised him, and Jaime assuring him he'll have it all, and reminding him a Lannister always pays his debt. But Bronn interrupts him saying, "Don't say it. Don't fucking say it." He has to be sick to death of Lannisters and their debts by now. Of course, the Freys are royally screwing up their siege of River Run. Love the contrast between the Lannister forces armored in pretty amazing armor, and then the Freys in what basically looks like rags and caps. The Freys threatening to execute Edmure is right from the books and just as hilarious. They are just fuck-ups. And the actor that plays the Blackfish just always does a phenomenal job. He's watching his nephew about to be hanged and then his throat slit like he just doesn't give a shit. Go on. Slit his throat. Meh. It's a nephew that couldn't even shoot an arrow to light his father on fire properly. Though look at the actor playing Edmure after there's talks about cutting his throat. He's looking up at the Blackfish, they cut away, and then back to him, and he's looking off at something else, and then back up. It felt like the actor got distracted for a moment, or they spliced different takes together. Which is fine if it's an editing mistake, I just found it comical. So the false threats don't go well, and after they prove yet again why people look down on House Frey, Jaime lets them know only fools make threats they aren't willing to carry out, and gives them a very educational demonstration using his pimp hand. And we didn't get the old man versus cripple line from Blackfish and Jaime, but we got it from Jaime and Bronn, though in the books Jaime left it with, "Some might say a cripple and an old man are well matched," and the Blackfish felt there was a small risk Jaime could win. Bronn had to be mean and take it a step further in the show by saying straight up, the old man would win. You big bully, Bronn. And the rest of the Blackfish Jaime dialogue was so similar to the books, I was seriously just squealing all the way through the scene, and I had to rewind it a couple times. I'm not ashamed. So a lot of it was so similar to the books, talking of his oath, asking him if he wants to resume his captivity, talks of honor, telling him to hang Edmure and be done with it, the building on quicksand line, hundreds dying to their thousands, telling Jaime he is a disappointment, and that he met with him because sieges are dull. It was just so much goodness. And I think for show-only watchers, they won't realize how much of a knife in the side it is for the Blackfish to tell Jaime he's disappointed in him, because they don't understand the relationship between Jaime and the Blackfish, but that's alright. I was a tad bit disappointed that there wasn't more mention of the Red Wedding and the fallout from that, and I mentioned in my guest write videos, and I think a few times throughout this season, that I want to see more of the fallout from the Red Wedding, because that affected all of the Seven Kingdoms. That was a really big deal, and I understand that it happened seasons ago, so it's maybe not as fresh to some people, but it still affects these characters. And so every time they don't bring up the Red Wedding, especially when it comes to politics and negotiating and things such as war and battles and stuff, I feel a little bit let down. A darker side of me is really hoping for the baby in the trebuchet line, but given the circumstances, we might not get that. And also with Brienne coming to the Riverlands next episode, I'm really excited for Jaime and her to meet up. Theon and Yara, some great lines in this scene as well. Yara, "We'll get justice for you. If I got justice, my burned body would hang over the gates of Winterfell. Fuck justice then. We'll get revenge." True Ironborn. I love the Iron Islands form of therapy. Get the fuck better or kill yourself. Nobody has time for your bullshit. Be right back. I'm gonna go fuck this hooker. Or call girl. Sorry, she's not dead yet. I'm happy their plan is to get Daenerys and not just wander the world. Whether Daenerys accepts this offer is to be seen, but if they reveal their uncle is building more ships, which she may need more than what they brought, she instead might reach out to him. Happy that Theon is finding himself again, even if it takes a little alcohol to do so. And not that it matters, but since George R. R. Martin brought it up, when the trailer was released and Yara was kissing another girl, a fan asked him about it, and George was very upfront saying that Yara, or Asha in the books, she's not a lesbian, she's not a bisexual, and it's a little bit interesting to me that he decided to answer that question. There was lots of questions he could have answered, but he chose that one specifically. So I don't know if it just irritated him a little bit, or if there's a point to her sexuality that will come into play in the books, and we know there's a little bit going on with that. So I thought that was a little bit interesting, even though I think in the show, her being a lesbian, bisexual, doesn't really matter. Lastly, Arya. She's attempting to escape to Westeros because she knows she's fucked up bad, even though she was acting super weird, out in plain sight, despite the priest warning to her that either way a face will be added to the wall. She knew the implication. You or the actress. So now she's just strolling about Braavos in the open, walking arrogantly, throwing money around, and not acting like a girl that knows some people are going to be super pissed at her and come for her. And she didn't even have Needle on her. Also, oddly, she was using her right hand to do things, even though Arya is left-handed. Arya's actress is right-handed though, so maybe it's a slip-up? So if this is Arya, it could just be some minor screw-ups, but the behavior just seems really odd for Arya, and I'm wondering what's going on here. Of course, then the Waif finds her and goes all stabby time on her. And what is with Starks and getting stabbed? Seriously, even Starks in the womb aren't safe. And I like how the kindly man told her, hey, don't make Arya suffer. And then she just fucking stabs her in the stomach repeatedly. I'm pretty sure a stab wound is a terrible way to die, and she's in a lot of pain. So, good job on not being able to follow orders, you little psycho. And when Arya was going through the streets and looking around not knowing if someone could be the waif wearing a face, it really is a terrifying thought that the Faceless Men or a follower of the many-faced god could be anyone waiting to step out and shank you. Imagine if Arya gets back to Westeros. Will she be afraid her entire life a faceless man will come and kill her? So if this really is Arya, likely she's going to go find someone to patch her up, which I'm guessing is going to be Lady Crane because she saved her life and a debt is owed. But I'm still a little confused about the odd behavior that Arya was demonstrating. So now let's talk about giveaways. The winner of last week's giveaway was Super Stannis Baratheon, the first of his name, King of Westeros, Protector of the Realm, Supermanus, who spoke to my hype infection and declared Stannis shall sit the Iron Throne. Just message me with your email address you want the card sent to. New giveaway for a chance to win a $20 gift card to Amazon. All you have to do is like this video and answer in the comment section below, which major character do you think is going to die this season? And by major, I mean they have to have a name and they have to have been in a season other than this one and appeared in more than 3 episodes. So thank you for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up. It helps the channel out a lot, and come back for more stuffs and things.